It's Thursday, the 25th of September. Hello there. The Prime Minister has confirmed it's only veterans that will receive special protections under the new system to deal with the legacy issues. Last week, it was suggested that everyone would be treated the same, enjoying the same provisions. That would include former paramilitaries. In an interview with BBC Northern Ireland, Sir Keir also defended his decision to appoint a conflict resolution expert to talk with paramilitary groups about disbanding. All this from his conversation with our political editor, Enda McClafferty, who's at Downing Street this evening.
Well, Declan, this is the first time that the Prime Minister has talked about the legacy framework which he has agreed with Dublin, and he said he's pleased with it. But Sir Keir Starmer has a balancing act. On one hand, he has to keep his backbenchers happy by protecting veterans, but on the other, he knows he needs the support of victims in Northern Ireland. Otherwise, this framework is doomed. And it's coming at a time when Sir Keir Starmer is facing challenges on many fronts. And we talked about some of those battles today, but first of all, this is what he had to say about legacy.
Well, firstly, let me say I'm pleased that we've made some progress on this issue, which has been very difficult for a very long time, as you know. It was one of the issues that didn't get resolved under the Good Friday Agreement, and now we've got the Irish government and the UK government in agreement on this. We have made provision for veterans in relation to it, the protections that have been put in place. They are for veterans in this, and now what we need to do is to make sure the
only
agreement
veterans,
can
just to be clear, only veterans, because the Irish government say it's going to apply to everybody, including former paramilitaries who come forward.
No, it's for veterans, and obviously we need to make all of the arrangements workable in practice, but the next thing that needs to happen is the necessary legislation to take this forward.
It's left some people thinking that more important for you are veterans as opposed to victims.
No, not at all. I've, as you know, worked in Northern Ireland for 5 years, some of the most formative years in my career, and very, very important personally to me. And I know how important accountability and truth and justice is for all the victims. Other governments have failed on this, the last government badly. I want this to work, and I want it to work, and I have in my mind's eye the victims who've waited a very, very long time for the accountability that they deserve.
Let's talk about the communities currently living in fear of paramilitaries in Northern Ireland. They're very worried to see their government now preparing to engage with these paramilitaries, to maybe in a sense to try and buy them off and make them go away. And those people feel very betrayed by you.
Well, let me be really clear that in my condemnation of paramilitaries, that's not a new position, that's been my long-standing view for a very, very long time.
But you're preparing to sit down with them?
Yeah, just hear me out. Those paramilitaries are still having impact and effect in some communities in Northern Ireland that is intolerable, and it is our job to do whatever we can to alleviate that for those communities, and that's the sole purpose of this role. So that doesn't deflect from my condemnation of paramilitaries, not in the slightest.
Will you still be around by the time these processes finish? Because right now it feels like your leadership is hanging by a thread.
Well, yes is the answer to your question. When I took over as leader of the Labour Party, people challenged me and said, you can't change the Labour Party. I said, you watch, we will. Then they challenged me that I couldn't lead Labour into a general election and win, and I said, you watch, we will. Now they challenge me and say, we can't change the country for the better, and I say, you watch, we will.
That's all very well, Prime Minister, but
if
you can't convince all your MPs you're the right man for the job, how are you going to convince the public?
Well, look, we've achieved a huge amount in the first year of a Labour government. We said we would do 2 million extra NHS appointments. We've done 5 million. We said that we would get record investment into the country. We've done that. Trade deals that other governments couldn't get. And many, many other things in terms of the employment market, interest rates coming down. A lot of people are struggling to feel that delivery, Prime Minister. Well, I think if you look at that delivery into the NHS, people are beginning to feel it. Confidence is going up. If you look at the investment that's coming in and the trade deals, certainly businesses are now looking for those opportunities. And if you look at our relationship with the EU, it's in a very different place, which of course for Northern Ireland is really important in terms of now, some of the tensions that have been there for quite some time now.
So what are you saying then? Bring it on, Burnham?
Well, look, I'm not going to get drawn into the personal ambitions of the Mayor of Manchester. What I will say is that our fiscal rules are ironclad because they protect working people, and economic stability is fundamental. 3 years ago this week we had Liz Truss show us what happens if you abandon fiscal rules.
Do you not feel a sense of betrayal when somebody of such stature within the party openly challenges your leadership? Is that not very damaging?
I'm not going to get drawn into commenting on the Mayor of London, of Manchester's personal ambitions. That's a matter for him.
So as far as you're concerned then, this threat doesn't really exist to your leadership, does it?
I get up every morning to deliver for my country. That is what I'm focused on every single day. The hard yards of delivering. I'll remain focused on that. I'll keep in my mind's eye all the people who depend on a Labour government taking us forward and renewing the whole of the United Kingdom.
Can I ask you just one final question? Would you have any objections to people in Northern Ireland who identify as Irish, courtesy of the Good Friday Agreement, being able to vote in an Irish presidential election? There's one coming up now at the end of next month.
Well, I think that's a matter that we all have to reflect on, but I'm not going to get drawn into an answer on that now.
The Prime Minister carefully sidestepping that last question because he knows it's politically sensitive. He also knows he's facing into a minefield when it comes to dealing with the legacy of the past. What the governments have agreed is very much the template of the Stormont House deal from 2014. But we know that deal fell apart when they tried to put it into legislation, turning the political promises into law. And that is the difficulty the government is going to face this time round once more, because he knows that will be the moment of truth when it comes to support or not for this particular framework from the political parties, from the victim groups and also from the Dublin government. And we're expecting that legislation to be published within a matter of weeks.